Hey everyone, great to have you back here today on the Cabral Concept show. Can't wait to get into today's topic. We're going to be going over the top 10 reasons why people, as they progress through life, can have lower and lower dopamine levels. And what does that mean? Well, dopamine, the easiest way to think about it is that it is the reward and pleasure center of the brain. But it also leads downstream to ambition, to drive, to excitement about life. So if you are lower and lower and lower in dopamine with every passing year, even if it's only by a percentile, what we're looking at is someone that's less excited about life. And for me and everything that I try to preach and I try to talk about, and my mission is that I want you to truly enjoy your life. And that's one of the biggest things of me talking about health, is that I simply want you to get healthy so that you can understand that you are meant for more. Because if you have more energy, more vitality, less pain and less inflammation, less brain fog, you're going to want to do more, just more with your life, with your loved ones, with your career, with your passions, your hobbies, anything that it is that you do. So let's go over right now the top 10 reasons why you may have low dopamine. And then of course, the inverse is going to be true for every one of these. So let's go over it. The first one is chronic stress. I know you've heard it before. Stress really is just like inflammation, right? In the root cause or a part of the root cause of all health-based issues. Now, is it the root cause? No. Inflammation always has a root cause. It could be anything from viral to heavy metal to candida to parasites to whatever, right? But it has an underlying root cause. Well, stress has an underlying root cause as well. It could be finances, it could be a relationship, it could be your health, it could be anything. But we need to go back and we need to find out what the underlying root cause is of our stress and begin to repair that. Okay, the second one is this, a high saturated fat intake. I know, this is controversial and I totally get it. And also, I just want to, again, I always try to be fair on the show. It is not conclusive that a high saturated fat diet leads to lower dopamine. However, there is at least some initial evidence that a high saturated fat diet begins to lower dopamine receptors. So it's not necessarily the production of dopamine, but rather the cell receptors. It's almost like when your cell membranes are not healthy and you take in carbohydrates or glucose, and your body's producing insulin, like in type 2 diabetes, but it's not getting into the cell, there's something wrong with the receptors on the cell. Same thing can happen in this situation. Now, again, I'm not banning all saturated fat. You can absolutely eat saturated fat, and some saturated fat, at least to a degree, can be healthy for you. So I think we need to be careful, though, that we just don't go overboard. The number three is this, sleep deprivation. But not just any sleep deprivation. Everybody misses a night's sleep. Everybody's going to get a little less sleep every once in a while. If you've had children, you know what a little less sleep feels like, right? But it's chronic sleep that reduces dopamine receptor sensitivity. So over time, your body's less sensitive and receptive to dopamine being produced. And that's kind of normal because your body literally does not have the same energy, natural energy, that it would if it was getting 90 minutes of deep sleep a night, 2 hours plus of REM sleep a night to repair the body and the brain. So if your body's not getting that, it's going to say, well, we're not going to get so excited about life that this individual keeps doing more and more and more when we're not getting sleep on our end in order to be able to repair. Makes perfect sense. All right, the fourth one is this, stimulants, right? And you can look at this however you want. But many people overdo caffeine or they overdo other types of stimulants, energy drinks, et cetera, et cetera. It's not the only type, but I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole in this. But we have to be careful of what we're using for stimulants because it leads to dopamine receptor downregulation. Again, it means that the dopamine's there, oftentimes from the stimulant, but your body begins to downregulate from what's called a positive and negative feedback loop. And you're jacking up your levels of dopamine and your body over time says, whoa, like this is going overboard. We need to start to take things down. And that's the downregulation. All right. The next one is a chronic sedentary lifestyle, AKA lack of physical activity. It can happen over the years. It can catch up with you before you're even really aware of it. You know, you were active, moving around in high school, a little less active maybe in college, but certainly active, moving around, being active. Then you get a desk job. And then when you get that desk job, now you're seated for most of the day. Come home, you have a meal, maybe you do some exercise, maybe after work. And then what do? You sit down at night. You stop doing the pick up basketball or going to walk and meet a friend and any of those different types of things. Body becomes more sedentary. The goal, and that's why I use this Apple Watch, believe it or not, it's on Bluetooth. So Bluetooth's off. It's on airplane mode. So people are like, what's the point of it? The point of it is literally on my home screen, right on it. It tracks my movement calories per day. It tracks my exercise minutes per day. And it tracks the number of hours I stand for at least 1 minute. Those are my 3 goals per day. I need to get 500 additional calories burned through extra movement beyond my resting metabolic rate. I need to do at least 30 exercise minutes. That's essentially governed by my heart rate. And then I need to do at least 12 hours standing. And for me, it's actually much more because I don't put on my watch until 8 o'clock in the morning. And so what I look at it is, it tells me if I have not stood for that hour within 10 minutes of the upcoming hour. So this is a big thing because yes, you need to get 30 minutes of movement exercise every single day. That's really important, at least 5 days a week. That's 150 minutes a week. It's extremely important to reduce all-cause mortality. And that includes dementia, Alzheimer's. All right. But we need to stand. We need to stand through the day. So you do your best. That's all I can say. But every single quarter, roll out that 12-week year. Every single quarter, we just get a little bit better. That's it. Not great, just a little bit better. Better our best. That's what it's all about. All right. The next one is, you probably thought about it, probably said, yeah, this is it. A high processed food diet, just a poor diet in general. When we're eating too many foods that are boxed and bagged, that are basically what I talked about in yesterday's show, synthetic foods, it can catch up with us. Nutrient deficiencies, which that should maybe be its own. If you don't have certain nutrients, you are not producing dopamine. And so there are crucial vitamins and minerals that your body needs that it's not going to get through a processed food diet. All right. Next one, I believe we're on number 7, substance abuse. It can be drugs and it can be alcohol. Now, alcohol is one of these things that can sometimes substitute for dopamine. It can give you a little bit boost. People feel good while they're using it. But then that next day, maybe subsequent days after that, they have lower levels than baseline of dopamine. So they feel good while they're drinking and terrible or worse when they're not, which oftentimes can lead to alcoholism. There was a book I talked about on this podcast probably 7 or 8 years ago. And it was I believe it's entitled Alcohol and the Addicted Brain. It's a small book, red cover. Maybe we can link it. Why don't I do this? I'll link it up for you today. I'll find it. And today's show notes will be at stephencabral.com/3163 is today's show. Okay. Top 10 reasons for low dopamine. So alcohol and the addicted brain, I believe, and it talks about people that are lower in dopamine sometimes turn to alcohol and alcoholism and drinking daily because it boosts dopamine and they just feel better. Well, there are other ways to get that dopamine fix instead of alcohol. And part of that is by that healthy lifestyle we just talked about. Better sleep, physical movement, better nutrition, replace those nutrient deficiencies with something like the daily foundational protocol, plus of course, good healthy food, etc. All right. The next one, obesity. And I'm not talking about being 10, 20 pounds overweight. I'm talking about obesity. I'm talking about having a BMI of 29 or higher. Because really, I mean, regardless of whether you're doing weightlifting or not, very few people are going to be above a 29 and in phenomenal shape. Like that's just, and in terms of, I mean, health-wise, meaning looking at waist to hip ratio and looking at all the other factors for health. And why this is important is that obesity is actually connected to impaired dopamine signaling. Why does this matter? Well, someone that's obese, when they go to move, it's not pleasurable at all. They don't get the same endorphin rush that many others will get. And that's because there is this dopamine downregulation or impaired signaling. And this is extremely important because it's also important that you're not there yet, but as you begin to lose the weight and lose the weight and lose the weight, you start to then actually get then the benefits of the dopamine from the physical activity. So extremely important. And also, you want to do it more. You're more motivated once you start to get that dopamine kicking in. So stick with it. Stick with it is what I have to say. All right, the mental health is a big part of this. Childhood trauma, past trauma, PTSD can lower dopamine levels, and often depression itself can cause lower dopamine levels. Why does this matter? Well, if you think about it, someone is depressed. I look at depression as low energy in both body and brain, low output a lot of the times. Well, you don't want to do more. So one of the best things to combat depression is to go out and work out, go for a run, sprint, do a cold plunge, exercise, move your body, do anything like that to stimulate. Here's the issue. It's the last thing you want to do when you're suffering from depression. And I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands of people with depression in my practice. And again, I'm not here to provide any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis. But what I can share with you is that it is difficult because when you're depressed, you don't want to do the things that will help to move you out of depression as well. So when we know that, then we just make it part of our schedule, or we have an accountability partner that makes us do the physical activity, makes us do the workout and end in that cold plunge for someone with depression. Again, I don't recommend cold plunge for everyone, but certainly for people with depression, it's difficult to stay in a depressed state when you hop in 56 degree or colder water. Okay, the last one is this: chronic inflammation. We're going to basically end where we started. We talk about chronic stress. It's implicated in every single dis-ease in the body. Well, so is inflammation, right? What is inflammation? Inflammation means that your body is no longer functioning in a state of homeostasis, that it is literally broken. It's imbalanced. You are inflamed. And because of that, now you're going to lean to whatever those poor genes are, and we all have them. So we're going to lean to now autoimmune issues, migraines, skin rashes, allergies, asthma, headaches, brain fog, you name it, right? We're going to lean towards that. Here's the other issue though. Inflammation negatively impacts dopamine. Able to be produced, sometimes an issue, able to be uptaken, able to be used by the cells themselves. So what this also means is then, in order to improve inflammation, we need to find the root cause. So we need to run the at-home lab test to find out if it's heavy metals, vitamin levels, mineral levels, gut issues, etc., right? High omega-6s. But we don't necessarily even want to do that work, right? Because we're not excited about the reward, the pleasure, the excitement of getting well. We don't want to go for the 10,000 steps of walking per day. We don't want to eat healthier. Instead, we want the comfort food because we're inflamed. We're tired, right? Inflammation leads to fatigue over time. And that inflammation can also affect, of course, our sleep, especially if we don't have a proper day and night circadian rhythm. So my highest recommendation, of course, is to always find the underlying root cause. But many of these, if you re-listen to this again, and if you want to head on over to stephencabral.com/3163, I'll actually list them out there, is that we want to do the inverse. And you don't have to be perfect. If you've ever read my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, I go through the de-stress protocol: diet, exercise, stress reduction, tox removal, rest, emotional balance, scientifically backed supplements, and a success mindset. It almost exactly mimics the research behind the top 10 reasons for low dopamine. So if we use the rain barrel effect and we begin, again, not to be perfect, but even just 70 to 80% in each one of those 8 areas, we will absolutely transform our lives. I was able to do it for myself, of course, from the help of my mentor and many others as well. And I simply want to try to share the same for you. If you haven't read The Rain Barrel Effect yet, it is a free book. Just go to stephencabral.com/free book. We pay a little over $7 to have it printed. It's about $7.95 to have it shipped to you. Completely free. You just pay for that shipping and handling. Of course, you can still get it on Amazon. You can get it, if you're international, you can get it at equa.life, which is just stephencabral.com/shop. So whatever works for you, my goal is to get that book into as many people's hands as possible. And if any money is made in that book, 100%, which it is from Amazon, 100% of all proceeds go to charity. So I don't keep a dollar from that book. So hopefully today's show was helpful. All those show notes, stephencabral.com/3163. And of course, if this was helpful, do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.